One of the biggest mistakes I think people make is they anthropomorphize the dogs. We give them human characteristics and human traits. When a dog shows their teeth, that's not a smile.
We are back again with the Iron Sharp podcast, and this is part 2 of a very interesting talk we had, and we had to talk again about it. Introduce yourself to the people.
I'm Benji Tompkins. I'm the owner and founder of Canine Communication. I basically do just major behavior modification in dogs that have, serious issues, anxiety, aggression, fear. That's mainly what I do. And I focus more on the behavior aspect and teaching people how to understand their dogs better, how to set up good structure in their homes so they can help the dogs be successful.
So that will give us our first question then.
Yeah.
What are pet owners accidentally rewarding all the time without realizing it?
I would say the biggest one, of course, we could get into the weeds where there's, a lot of little specific things that I'd say a lot of people do reward a little too much.
Let's say top 3.
Top 3. So the very biggest one I'd say is anxiety and fear. Anxiety and fear are kind of the same thing, but like one of the things I see a lot of is if a dog is fearful, and they're cowering and they're shaking, it's a very human type of response to want to go up and console. Oh, it's okay. I got you. And it works because when you look at human psychology, if you have a child that's scared of something, that is how they want you to approach it. You pick up the child, it's okay, I got you. And it's a very soothing thing to do. What they don't understand is that in the canine world, if they were out in the wild, say like a wolf pack has, their wolf puppies are crying, mama dog doesn't lick them and console them. She bites them if they're getting too scared of something. She'll bite them and say, hey, knock it off, calm down. And that is what's soothing to a dog. So I'd say what people do by, not really knowing it, they're thinking I'm just doing the human motherly thing of doing it. It's like I pick up my dog, I pet it, or I just stroke it and say, hey, you're okay. Like if there's a storm going on and then come here, I got you. But what you're actually communicating to that dog in that moment is, good, I like that you're doing this. Keep doing this. Keep whining, keep crying at the storm. And so they're thinking like every time the storm comes, they're supposed to come and hide under your legs and shake to death while you pet them. So that's one of the biggest things.
So what would you tell them to do instead of?
So there's a couple of ways you can go about it. And it also, again, we can get into the weeds because it's never just a one size.
Yeah, it's not a one size fits all.
Sure. But I would say one of the biggest things you could do is get the dog focused on something else. Now, this is in everyday life. You should be doing this every day. So it just becomes natural. For example, what I did for my dog was I trained her to walk on the treadmill. And that was just because in Texas it's hot. So sometimes we can't be outside. So if she's in the house, instead of her just laying around waiting for life to happen, I trained her to walk on the treadmill so she could at least be moving and getting some of that pent up energy out. She got so good at it. And she was also one of those dogs that was very scared of storms. So what I'd do is when the storm would be coming, I could hear it coming on. I could see her kind of start to shake and get a little scared. I'd say, all right, let's go do the treadmill. Get her on the treadmill and get her focused on that. So she was working, and now the storm has become a secondary thing. And then over time, her response became, and like when the storm would come, she'd walk over and sit next to the treadmill like, Dad, it's time to get on the treadmill, which was so much better than the destructive behavior she was doing before, like chewing things up or peeing or, shaking so bad that her hair's coming off, like, or licking herself to death and self-mutilating, which she was doing all those things. And so now, so the different response of her now going to the treadmill and saying, let's get some work done. It got to the point where then I could get her to focus a little bit better. And then I would move on to then flooding the information where, like, for instance, I would take her out on my patio. So while the storm is going on, we'd go outside and I'd make her just sit with me and you're going to deal with this storm. And if she started to whine or cry, I'd actually correct, just like a mom would say. I'd say, nope, you sit down here, you stay right here. And then over time, now it's to the point where if there's a storm going on, she'll just lay on her bed. Now, she's not necessarily happy about it, but she won't, again, do any destructive things.
So one thing that I do with storms is, like, from 8 weeks old, every time it rained, me and Boo would go outside and we'd play in the rain. So now he's like, hey, Dad, we're going to go outside. It's storm. I'm like, no, we did this shit already.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're not afraid of it. That's all I care about. You can go out there and pee, go out there and poop.
Right.
But I think that's one thing that people should do with their dogs very early on is get them out in the rain, take them to the bathroom in the rain, and don't make it like a whole big deal, because if you do,
put
now
on
the
your
dog's
raincoat, just sit out there in the rain with them. Yeah. Here's the thing, advantage of like puppy stuff. So again, this is why I said we get into the weeds, because the approach always should be socialized when they're young. Most of the time when people come to me, the damage is already done. The dog's like 6, 8 years old. It's been practicing this stuff for, years. And so now we have to do, again, that's where I come and do major behavior modification. But also along with those things, like it's never just a one, it's not just one thing is going to fix the problem. Mm-hmm. It's never that. It's always a balanced lifestyle. It's how you live each and every day with your dog. It's how what are you doing when you go to the bathroom? What are you doing when you're folding laundry? Like, what are the dogs doing? Are you asking them to do something? Or are you just kind of letting them wander around and make stuff up? If you have a lot of structure just in everyday life, they know where they're supposed to be in every single situation. Well, then when the storm comes and you say, go to your spot, just go sit over there. You're safe over there. It's a lot easier for them to understand that command because they're like, okay, yeah, I've been safe on this spot every time a guest has come over, every time there's been a lot of people in here. So why wouldn't I be safe on this when the storm is happening too?
Yep.
But that's one of the things I'd say people reward. Another one is aggression. Yep. The way people can, or reactivity. I don't want to just necessarily say aggression because reactivity isn't always aggressive, but it can lead to it for sure.
Yep.
But reactivity, I would say, is the biggest one that people reinforce unwittingly. Mm-hmm. And what they're doing is, again, like, if you're training with treats, which I already kind of mentioned last time, I don't really use treats a whole lot. But if you are using treats, what you need to make the dog do is get them to stop reacting. Then you give them the treat. Yep. What people do a lot of times is they're trying to use the treat to get the dog to stop reacting, but then they're feeding the dog the treat while the dog is barking and lunging. And I'm like, you're actually just saying, good, keep attacking, keep going after that thing. So that's probably another unwitting thing that people do. And I'm like, no, we need to correct the dog, tell them not to do that. And if they come away from the thing, they come back to you. That's oh, good boy. Thank you for coming back to me and going away from that thing. That's when you give them the treat. So
it's funny that you say that because when people say, oh, my dog's aggressive, so we do a little evaluation. I'm like, well, correct the dog. And they're like, oh, well, I usually just take them away from the situation. I said, well, that's what the dog wants.
Right,
exactly. The dog doesn't want to be here.
Right, yeah.
It acts this way, gets removed, it's winning. And I was like, hey, have you ever seen our bite work videos where the dogs are biting? They're like, yeah, that's really cool. I said, you know how I got them to do that? The same thing that you're doing with this dog.
Right, exactly.
He barks at me, I leave. He starts realizing this is how he gets the threat to leave. And then it has to bite, and then it has to go here. And it progressively gets to the point. Because like we said, we're not complaining or training aggressive dogs in bite work. We're training competitive dogs.
Right.
And a lot of times reactivity, those dogs aren't really aggressive. If these dogs are aggressive, it's going to be all the time.
Well, you'll know. You'll know. There's a difference in the body language.
If a dog's really wanting to hurt you or is and trying to, I call it like Pee Wee Herman. I'm like, empty barrels make the most noise. A dog who really wants to hurt you, they're not really going to be saying a whole lot.
They're not really that loud. Exactly. It's actually, they're kind of quiet and just kind of staring you down. And you're like, oh, that guy wants to take a chunk out of me. The ones that are big and loud, usually those are the ones that are fearful. They're afraid. They're doing all that intimidation to get you to go away. So if you go away, they're like, oh, good, it worked.
You're like, oh,
doing that.
Oh my God, I was so terrified. Yes. And now he's away. Okay, cool.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but no, a dog who really wants to do something to you is not going to be wasting their energy. Like, they're like, if I'm barking, that may scare it away. I don't want to scare it away. I want all of the smoke.
Right.
So it's funny that you even say that.
Yep.
So what would be the third one?
Separation anxiety. Okay. That one is probably the least understood by people, or not necessarily the least understood, but just like the one that they miss the most because you're not really directly involved. What I mean by that is when you get up and just walk to your kitchen and your dog just gets up and follows you, you're probably not even thinking about it. You're just going about your business, but your dog is following you everywhere. And you're never actually asking them to just, can you sit over there just for 2 seconds? And people will even say, they're like, yeah, it's my little Velcro dog. And then every time I come over I come over to their house and they're like, okay, sorry, I got to put the dog up. And they put it in the other room. It's just barking its head off, screaming, crying, freaking out. And I'm like, do they usually do that? They're like, oh, only when I put him in the other room. I'm like, well, how often do you practice it? Oh, only when people come over. So the most exciting thing just happened. And that's when you're taking the dog and putting it away from you. And you haven't even practiced it just when you're sitting on the couch.
Yep.
You're sitting on the couch, they're with you all the time. You go in the kitchen, they're with you. You go into the bedroom, they're with you. They're sleeping with you. So I kind of have to tell people a lot of times the damage has usually already been done. They're like, how do I fix the separation anxiety? Well, with a dog like that, it's probably best that you have them sleep in another room away from you in a crate. Like that's the start. That's not going to fix it, but that's just a start because they're sleeping anyway, so they don't need to be near you. And then I also try to tell them, like, let's just teach a simple place stay. Tell them to stay there and just practice getting up from your chair and going into the, like, even just going to the kitchen and not letting them follow you. You get up and start to walk into the kitchen, they start to follow you, say, nope, go back to your spot. You put them back on their spot, you sit back down, and you practice it again. Standing up and walking away was not an invitation to say, come with me. It's just you standing up and walking to get a beer out of the fridge.
Yeah.
But if you want them to come with you, they should know you stand up and you say, let's go. That's an invitation. And so that's probably something that people just unwittingly reinforce. And that's difficult for them to understand. They're like, how am I reinforcing? I'm not even interacting with the dog. I'm like, yeah, but you're not correcting them.
Not showing them that this isn't okay.
You're giving them free access to you. And that can also translate to some dangerous behaviors, like say you're in a yard with a lot of dogs. Like I have to be careful because I usually have 5, 6 to 10 dogs in my backyard. And if I allow one dog a lot of access to me all the time, then when the other dogs start coming near me, if they're so used to being around me all the time, they might start getting possessive over me and start growling at the other dogs and saying, go away. So even when I'm in the yard, I have to say, there's a bubble here and I will invite you into my bubble when I'm ready. But if I'm walking through the yard, I kind of expect them to kind of give me space, just like they would give each other space. Like, let's just respect each other's space here. If somebody invites you into their space, play ball, go ahead, go play. They wanted you to play, and that's fine. But if they didn't invite you in, like I don't allow dogs to just go up and start pestering another dog, biting them in the face and stuff. It's like, that's rude. The same thing if they're doing that to me. So, that's kind of the big thing that I try to tell people is like, don't just give them free access to you. That's probably the third thing that they accidentally reinforce.
So your background, you said you did some studies in ethology, right?
Yes, ethology, yes.
Said it right. I remembered, people.
Well done.
So when you're watching what's going on with bitework, what do you think, common pet owners, what are they missing? And even probably some working dog people, what is going on? That try to break it down for them.
Okay, so this is good because it kind of gets into another topic of this conversation that I have to kind of remind people, because a lot of times people will say, I got this dog for protection. And then I look at the dog's behavior and I'm like, that is not the dog that should be protecting you, because that dog is protecting this house because he thinks it's his house. And that's a dangerous thing, because now, it's going to protect you from people. It's going to protect you from everyone, your friends, your family, your kids, your pet snake. It's going to protect you from everyone. And if you don't want them to protect you from those people, then your dog can't be the owner of this house. You don't want this dog to be your protection dog. True protection dogs, like what I see what you're doing, is a dog like Boot that is completely under control. If you don't give him the command, he's not going to go after anything. He's just going to be a dog just hanging around doing his thing. And he's also not reactive. He's not looking at everything as like a potential target. Yeah, exactly. Yep. When you have those reactive dogs that are just reacting to everything, I'm like, that's not a protection dog. That's a liability right there. You're walking around with a loaded weapon and it's about to go off in any second. Yep. So when I see bitework, and if I was to be explaining that to someone, I'd be like, I want you to watch, because Boot will be going after a person, and all he has to do is do his little whistle if he's far away, or just say, hey, come back. He'll turn right around and come back and forget that he wasn't going after the target and go right back to stand, because that's where I'm supposed to be. It's more about the relationship with his owner and the exercise we're doing. Also, Boot's not aggressive. He's not going after the thing because he wants to kill it. It's a game. It's fun. It's like, I love to do this. It's just the same as it's a trick like playing tug of war or fetch. It's literally the same thing as fetch. It's just a game. It's a trick.
And if they didn't have the suit on, it would hurt. Exactly. I got some. This is from last week. This is through the suit. Like, wow. These dogs are biting very hard. They literally bit the black off. My parents used to say when I was young, I'm gonna beat the black off you. I was like, I know you're not, but
no,
this
but the dog can do it. Yeah,
this dog actually did.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I get a lot. Oh, my dog barks at everything. He'll be a good protection dog. And I'm like, no, it's not really gonna happen, because if I put a little pressure on that dog, he's gonna choose to run. Right. Which in the wild, fight and flight are both honorable. Yep. If I don't think I can beat you up, I'm going to run, because it's about survival. Right. What we're telling these dogs to do.
Run away from an elephant kind of thing. It's like,
What we're telling these dogs to do is going against their nature of self-preservation, especially when we're sending them in. There's a wasp flying around. It's like, that's not good. But what we're telling them to do is go against their natural instinct to run.
Right.
And that's why where you'll see some dogs will put a lot of pressure on, and if they take a step back, we like, oh no, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
Like,
no, you're
this is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
You step forward when there's more pressure.
Right.
And we start teaching them that, hey,
to go against their natural instincts.
Yeah. And it's a process. And every dog can't do it. There's some dogs that come in, you put pressure on them, and they're like, ooh, I like this.
Yeah.
Then there's some dogs you put pressure on them.
Sometimes like those dogs, you kind of have to like say, okay, well, slow down. Like I didn't want you to go over there that time. Yeah.
Like he just was like, okay, I don't care who it is, it's on site, but he was still controlled. But he didn't play games. If it was a big person, a little person, a woman, he hit them the same. Boot, he'll dial back. He's like, oh, Dad, this isn't really, I don't need to go super
based on
hard.
the energy of the person, kind of. Yeah.
Rocco was, nope, I'm going 100 miles an hour. So we had to do a lot of more control stuff with him because he already had the super intensity.
Sure.
So with Boot, I let him be a little, I call him a dickhead. I let him do it because he is like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, no, go figure it out.
That's not his natural.
Yeah, they're supposed to be looking for guidance. So one thing that we're going to start doing with him is he's going to start working by himself. Like you said, like they're Velcro dogs, and he's used to working with me and looking for me to tell him what to do. And it's great when I'm there, but when I'm not there, he questions. He's like, well, is this okay? Like, what do I do? So we got to show him, hey, if I tell you this and I'm not there, you still need to be able to perform. So it's teaching him exactly what I want him to do in these other situations.
Yeah. If your dog has the stuff, but not every dog was meant to be a service dog. I did work for a service dog group for about a year, and what I found interesting is that we would buy puppies from reputable breeders with certain dogs, and we would get maybe like on average, we would get litters from anywhere from like 6 to 12 dogs. But on average, it was about 10 most of the time.
And what, two maybe?
Two maybe. Yeah. Well, actually one most of the time. But if we were lucky, two. Most of them failed out. And it wasn't that they were bad dogs. It was that like this one doesn't have enough drive. This one has too much drive and can't settle down. This one just wants to sleep all day. Like this one, like it was just, there were so many things that we had to really vigorously see. Oh, this one just likes to poop in the middle of the sidewalk. Can't have that. They failed out. So like it's a really, really vigorous process. And so that's what I have to tell people. Also, like your energy might not be conducive for that type of dog. Like if they get a German Shepherd and you have high anxiety, that's not going to work out for your anxiety. You're just going to make that dog more anxious. And now you've got a dog that's aggressive and trying to attack everybody. Like that's the wrong dog for that type of thing. Or you're just the wrong person for that dog. So it's a very complicated process.
Pick your breeds, people.
Yes,
Pick your breeds.
exactly.
All right. So one last question.
Yeah.
If there was one body language cue that a dog does that people need to know, what would it be?
One. That's hard to say one. Because also again with different breeds, like not every dog's going to look the same. Some dogs don't have tails. Some dogs have the floppy ears as opposed to the ears up. But I'd say there's one that people misread. I would say probably lately in like videos I've been watching, and people say, "Oh, look, he's smiling." That's a big one that I see now. And it's usually with pit bulls, and like because they just have that big, dumb, beautiful face that's just like. And I'm like, you can see whether they're panting or also sometimes they have that closed mouth and they kind of have that grin going back there doing that thing. And people are like, oh, he's smiling. And even the tail will be wagging. And I have to like look at, and every time I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, that dog is stressed. That's a stressed out dog. One of the biggest mistakes I think people make is they anthropomorphize the dogs. We give them human characteristics and human traits. In primates, like we are, when if you see like chimpanzees, gorillas, bonobos, orangutans, when they look at another member of their group and they smile, so do we. We smile to say, I'm happy. I like that. Like even chimpanzees, hey, I'm happy. When a dog shows their teeth, that's not a smile. That's a get the peck back. So a lot of times people will even go up to the dogs like, hi, how's it going? They got this big grin and the dog can be like, why are you grinning at me like that? And they'll think you're threatening. Yeah. Or they'll like lay down and be like, why are they so submissive? I'm like, because you're growling at him, And so I would say that that's probably the biggest cue lately that I've seen like on social media is that the dog's smiling. And I'm like, no, that's a stressed out dog. So like that dog does not need to be pet right now. That dog needs to like get out of the situation they're in because they are not happy right now. That one, and also like the whale eye, like if the dog's kind of looking at you like this, probably not a good idea to just reach your hand out and try to pet that dog.
Can you pet that dog?
Yeah, can pet that dog. Yeah.
Oh man, that's
but
funny.
other than that, I mean, there's so many cues. Tail tuck, tail wagging. Tail wagging, that's another one. People always think tail
It's not
wagging
always
means a happy
happy.
dog. I'm like,
Not
nope.
always
Some
happy.
it depends
Depends
on
on how it's wagging.
right. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's a big one too.
So I told somebody once, I said, I sent them a video of some dogs working. I said, hey, if my dog ever looks like this when we're doing anything, tell me I need to go on vacation. Like the
Right.
dog, he was performing all the, the commands and doing everything, but the dog's not like happy. And you can tell that dog was like, shit, if I mess up, I
Right.
know the world's about to be over.
Right.
And I never want my dogs to ever look like that in a video. There's
Sure.
been times like, I'm looking at Boot and I'm like, man, I guess I'm a little hard on you right now. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm not
Like that
performing."
unsure kind of like just
So I stopped. I was like, shit, I'm not going to do nothing with you with that. Hey, come on, bud, let's go.
it's
We're
time to
done.
regroup and
Yep.
like we'll try again later. Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, body language is important. I think people, where's like if there are any YouTube videos that you could think of off the top of your head that really show any good like body language videos?
There's a trainer that I've been following for a while. His name is Robert Cabral.
Mhm. Afraid of him.
Yeah, and he actually, and I can't remember which video it is, but if you follow Robert, if you just go look at Robert Cabral on YouTube, I mean, he's got a whole page dedicated to all this stuff. But he actually has a video that just specifically talks about body language, and where he works at a shelter and he brings different dogs out, and as the dog is coming out and it's displaying whatever body behavior, he describes it. And that's been probably the closest, besides like Cesar Milan, that I've seen that people have actually been able to like look at a dog and be like, that's how this dog is feeling. Like, oh, see, this dog is actually feeling a little nervous. Oh, this dog is actually very happy. This dog looks like he's about to bite. Like he's kind of like going into that with each dog that comes out. And I would say that, so if you look up Robert Cabral, he's got some good videos on there. But I mean, honestly, like just by being around dogs more, like going to dog parks. When I went to dog parks, I don't go anymore because I think they're awful. But like when I used to go, I would just
Topic for
watch-
another day.
Yeah, right. I would just watch all the dogs interact with each other and look at the body language and see which dogs were nervous, which dogs were happy, which dogs didn't want to be there, which dogs were trying to get the attention of the other dogs, like, and just watch them move. And I'd say that that's one of the best things you can do, is just go to a place where there's dogs and just sit and just watch them. You will get a lot of information. And if you're really studying, rather than just looking at them and being like, oh, the cute doggies, like if you're actually there to really study them, then you will get a lot of knowledge, because dogs are very, very, they don't hide it. Like they'll tell you how they're feeling if you know what to look for.
Well, I appreciate you coming out and talking to us again, taking time out of your
Absolutely, it's my
schedule.
pleasure.
You guys, we have a new short channel. It's Iron Shark Canine Shorts. We're going to be posting all those videos there. The podcast and some long forms are going to be on this channel. So stay tuned. We got some updates coming for you guys. And again, take care of your dog.